Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes,
We have. Okay. Hello. Good morning.
good morning. So do I have enough light on my face? Is it okay, visible?
Yes, and I do have echo. I don't know where's that coming from. Fridays for Future, can you handle echo, please? Okay. So yes, the audio is correct, and yes, I can see you. Enough light everywhere. Okay, so we'll wait for a few minutes to make sure that um, we have our audience settle in, because we just got done with the another session. And yes, let me introduce you to our guest speaker. As you can see, we have KP Singh here. He's our guest speaker today. And uh, a little bit about KP, and then we will move to our topic. Before that, everybody, happy Environment Day. And happy Environment Day to you too, sir. So thank you for, first of all, thank you for joining us for this discussion, this fireside chat. I want to keep it very interactive. So we don't have PPT, guys. So please comment your questions, and I will try to bring them to KP. So a little bit about KP.
Thank you so much for having me here. And it's an opportunity to discuss something which is quite important for all the cities, more so in India. We know we have this dubious distinction of hosting 20 most polluted cities of the world. So thank you so much.
Yes, correct. So KP Singh is joining us from the Garden City of India, Bengaluru, and he has been active on a couple of issues of solid waste management, wastewater treatment, rainwater management, lake protection, and
Sorry for being late.
and I guess there's some lag, so I apologize for that in advance. So he's been active on a couple of
I'm audible,
issues.
right?
Yes, you are.
Can someone respond? Yeah. You're audible.
Yes, you are audible. And thank you
Um,
for the support.
we're expecting more.
Okay, so I'll quickly introduce you, KP. KP is a civic and environmental activist. He is living in the Garden City, Bengaluru. He has been active on the issues of solid waste management, wastewater treatment, rainwater management, lake protection and rejuvenation, and traffic and pedestrian mobility issues of Bengaluru for the past 10 years, for over 10 years. He's been an active participant of his RWA for over 10 years as a member of managing committee, general secretary, and president. And the reason why he is here today, because during this period, he had executed several pioneering initiatives in his residential colony, Rainbow Drive, to make it a sustainable community model. So a lot of communities in Bangalore look up to Rainbow for the model that they have implemented, and we are going to talk about that. But a little bit more about him. Prior to this, he spent over 20 years in telecom industry, R&D, and internet security related to product development and services. He spends maximum time in supporting the ongoing movement to secure remunerative prices for farmers and to enable them to become debt and suicide free. So that's something that he's passionately working on as well. So a lot of things you've done, KP, and we would just want to soak in all of that. So I'm giving the floor to you. So do you want to talk about your community where you started the this model, this ideal model that we all look up to? Do you want to elaborate on that? How did your community started it, and why did they start it? So I think that's where we can start.
Yeah, sure. Namaste, everyone, and again, happy World Environment Day to all of us, to all the viewers, to you, Jasmine, and everyone else who is connected. Whatever we throw comes back to us. We are so connected. So here in Bengaluru, some 10, 12 years back, we used to often hear there were several villages in the periphery who had their lives miserable. Their water was contaminated. They had lots of diseases spreading there. Their food was contaminated. And they were agitating. We used to collect all the solid waste from Bangalore city and dump to the peripheral villages. So that is where this the issue, as the cities grow, as you generate more and more garbage, you need to someday start dealing with that sustainably. This thing that you take it from one place and dump to some other place, that's not the right solution. You only shift the problem from one place to the other place. Now, when we became a little sensitive about the issues that the nearby villages were facing, we had to look at inwards to see who is causing it. And ultimately, all the Bengaloreans were responsible for this. So that's what triggered the thought that we need to responsibly manage our waste, and our waste is our responsibility. It should not be that you put it outside your house and forget about it. It's going to affect someone or the other. So if you see, if you do not deal with your waste responsibly, it will contaminate the air, because most of the time it is burnt also. It is just discarded here and there, and people put fire to it. So it is burned, it pollutes your air. If it is dumped in a landfill, the leach soaks into the earth and it contaminates the water.
I'm sorry, I would request Fridays for Future to mute your end, please, so that we don't have disturbances. I can hear background noise. If the host can mute your end, please. Sorry, I'm sorry for the interference.
No problem.
Sorry,
No problem.
go ahead, KP. Just
No
wanted
problem.
to make sure, like, we are able to hear you well. Go ahead.
Yeah. So we need to keep these things in mind, that if we do not deal with our garbage properly, it's going to hit us hard, very badly. It contaminates the air, so air pollution would happen. It leaches into the earth, so water pollution would happen. And of course, a lot of diseases, a lot of airborne diseases, a lot of communicable diseases, all these things happen. So it's only in our interest and everyone's interest that we deal with the solid waste responsibly. And we in our community, a lot of us, since we were also dealing with other issues, and this was a community where we were trying to see that we are seen as a very responsible community. We deal with all our issues responsibly. This was also something that we wanted to handle and also take it to a level which is sustainable, which is doable by others, and people can take this model and replicate it in their communities. So that's where we started.
Okay, so if you can like tell us about when you thought of starting, when you recognized this problem and when you started thinking about how to solve it, can you walk us through that process so that like people and other communities listening right now can, probably think on those lines?
Right. So, so what we are used to is that um, we have in our kitchen or somewhere in the house, we have one bin or somewhere where we keep putting all the waste that is generated inside the house. That means the kitchen waste, fruit peels, vegetable waste, remnant of the foods, and all the things that keep coming to our house. We order certain things we get from market, all those plastic things, paper waste, everything into one basket. And then in the morning, we keep that outside and someone comes and takes it. So that means what we were used to is throwing the mixed waste. So the first thing happened that if we need to deal with this solid waste properly, we need to do the segregation. Bangalore is known and it has pioneered something called a three-way segregation, which is 2 bin 1 bag, where 2 bins are red and green bins and a big white bag uh, to segregate it 3-way, which is your wet waste goes into the green bin, sanitary or medical waste goes into the red bin, and plastic and paper and all other solid thing which can be recycled easily goes into the white bag. So we started propagating almost about 7-8 years back this 3-way segregation, which is now quite popular all over India. But it was all done by our friends, and not only it was followed by us as a community. It was Bengaluru wide. We have a lot of we have something called Bangalore Eco Team, which has lots of members working on all aspects of our sustainable living. So it was pioneered by them, and then we are taking it all over the India now. So segregation was the key. When we started doing it around 2007, we were a little ahead of the curve. These things came a little later. But that time, segregation or dealing with waste was very new concept, very new idea. We in Rainbow Drive were a little ahead there also. So there was a lot of resistance from people. But we had persistence in our in our committee, the committee that we had, the resident welfare committee. We had members who were very persistent about it, and we kept sharing how to do it. We kept going door to door, guiding them how to do it. And finally, it takes a couple of years before people start understanding why do we need to do it. We started sharing all those pictures of people with diseases, people with problems in outside of Bangalore, where we were dumping our stuff. So when you connect your issue with the people affected, then it touches your heart and you feel, oh, because of my irresponsibility, someone else's life is getting affected. So that aspect also be connected. So how to do it? We continually circulated that over the email inside the community. We have our portal. Through that, we have WhatsApp groups are new concept that time, mostly through emails. And then we used to go do door-to-door education about it, how to do it. So segregation was the most important aspect of it. That's how we started. And then we thought, now that we are segregating, we should not throw our wet waste. Can we compost it? So in 2008, we started composting it, and we went through all the methods that one could find, Google, and try. So we have tried vermicompost, we have tried aeration-based electrical and mechanical composting. And finally, in in last 3 to 4 years, we have then devised our own ways of doing it, which is very sustainable because now there is no machine needed there. There's no electricity needed, and and there's very little cost involved there. So we have gone to a model which can be not only implemented in the communities who have money, it can be useful for all those communities which are at the periphery of the city, say in the villages. And now villages around the city, they start adopting the lifestyle of the city, but they don't do these managements. So they become fairly quickly, they become very dirty. So, and there, because usual management needs lots of money, there has to be an association, there has to be day-to-day monitoring. Usually villages are not able to do it, but the way we have done it, it's very easy to do because there's almost no input cost. It takes about 15 to 20 minutes of time per day to do it. So yeah, it can be adopted by anyone who is willing to do it. It only needs a little bit of space.
Okay, that's this is really interesting. I really love the approach that you took as a community, and I cannot agree more that to start with waste management, that waste segregation is the first step. Um, Also, I see that how you address the situation and the challenges that came along by, like, getting on the field, going door to door, making sure that you are, tying the cause with the effect, and making it a community project, not just like your project. It's like that I want to do this, like you got everyone on board, and that's something that I really really is inspiring. It's
And that
really,
is the key. You have
yeah,
actually touched this. It's very important
yeah,
to emotionally involve everyone, and it should be let people feel pride in this, that they're doing something. They would be seen as a responsible community, so everyone feels good about it. Otherwise, there's a lot of resistance. If someone tries to do it alone for one's own satisfaction, it doesn't work. In a community, it doesn't work. Any project that one needs to do successfully, all the stakeholders have to be brought on board and connected with the cause, and they must feel proud about owning that.
cannot agree more on that. So also, like while we are at it, like when you were going through this process, then I would want to know that if you can talk about a little challenges, because it sounds it's easier than done, right? So it sounds easy to say that get everybody on board, but it's not that easy. And I understand, like and the reason why I'm asking this is because I reached out to you for help when our community was in Bangalore, was trying to get on board with the waste community waste management. So there are a couple of challenges, right? That obviously it'll differ from community to community, but if you can briefly talk about the most common challenges which any community will face, and in terms of getting people on board with with respect to waste segregation, because I'll tell you something which I've come across a lot, that sometimes people don't want to segregate their waste at their end because they think that what's the use, it's getting mixed in the end. So how did and it's not only, it doesn't end at that. Like even if you say that we are going to compost at our community, but there are a few people who say that medical waste is not going to where it should be, it's not getting recycled, and these loose ends always come up when we are beginning the whole journey. So how did you address when you were going through that journey? And if you want to talk about a few aspects, a few challenges with respect to waste segregation.
Uh, so not only for this project, anything that we do with the community, the most important thing is that we make the life of the people uh, as easy as possible. That means anything, any challenge that you see they can face, try to remove that challenge. So, for example, the first hurdle would be that usually people have one basket. Now, where do they get these three things? Two bin and one bag. So if you leave it up to them, then people, to procure these colored baskets, one has to make a trip of some place, somewhere. So that initial hurdle itself, because of that, they will do a lot of bahanas. They will. So what we did was that we procured 300 units of all these things and kept in our clubhouse, and we said that, and all these things was discounted. We gave all the three things for 100 rupees because we bought in bulk and kept it. So that was removed. That hurdle was removed. The second hurdle would be people, their own waste or kitchen waste, something that they ate out of their plate, as soon as it goes into the basket, they don't want to touch it. So they find it filthy. So then there would be, how do we deal with that wet waste? If you put that into the basket, it sticks. How do you wash that? So there will be hundreds of questions. Shall I line this with a newspaper? Shall I put all your food into one plastic and then I deliver so that my basket is not dirty every day? All those things would be there. It takes a little bit of, so sometimes we take a very Puritan approach and say, don't do this, don't do that. What we need to do is that if there are mistakes happening, do not let it happen in the beginning. It takes some time for those things to go away, some time for the hesitation to go away. So if someone says, no, I want to line it with the newspaper, that's okay. Let people do that. Let them get used to segregating. Even if someone does a mistake of segregating by putting in a plastic bag, that's okay. Someone can clear that. But let it happen. Do not create too tight rules that people do not adopt it. Mistakes on the way should always be welcome. That's how projects succeed. Any project, if we look for perfection for the first time, it will never happen. So that is how we used to do our projects in IT industry as well. We used to take certain features. We don't want to create a perfect product. With every release, every 6 months, you put some more features, you put some more features. Let it go out as it is with the imperfection as well. So yes, we faced all these resistances, but this was the approach, that let it take time, and slowly people would get used to it. We did continuous education. We also, after a certain period of time, we also said that if you do not segregate properly, just to make sure that you have not done the job, we will not lift your waste that day if you have not segregated it, so that you get we'll do it next day, but just for a reminder for you that something is not happening at your place properly. So we empowered our waste picker to not lift that waste which is not segregated properly, so that message goes there. And at the same time, the communication was that it's not a punishment to you, it's more of a reminder that something is not happening. Either your house help is not doing it properly, or some family member is not gotten used to segregating it. Just a reminder. So we were very gentle in doing that, and this is what I would say is the key. We must not take confrontational attitude with the members. Everyone sooner or later comes on board. 80% of the people adopt it easily. Those last 20%, they take time. Take them along. Take them with the mistakes. Do not be very Puritan in the beginning, and do not create that acrimonious environment inside the community. It doesn't help. So,
Yes.
so little education, little mistake together, moving on, and it takes sometimes, probably it takes about 6 months to 1 year for everyone to then just become, it comes into your subconscious that you only put right thing into right basket. You, even while sleeping or talking over phone, you will not do the mistakes. In 6 months, now in the community, we don't face problems. And if there is a little bit of 5%, it's not happening. We have made sure our composting process is so robust that it doesn't really matter. That with that 5% mistake also, everything is working. Our garbage is handled very well.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And I totally agree with this gentle approach, and also this phase-wise, approach to implementing this project. Because, like you said, that we should not aim for perfection in one go, and we should allow mistakes to happen so that everybody can learn at their own pace. Because everybody has their own learning curve, right? So, yes. So this is really inspiring for me, and I hope for all the communities who are listening to us right now. And moving on to like after waste segregation, I really like the idea of two bin one bag as well, and I know it's really popular in Bangalore. And thank you for making sure that it's like popularized pan India as well. So moving on from waste segregation to composting. So I know that you handle composting in your community. So can you take us through the whole process? Like, how do you do that? How did you get started? And how do you do that? And like how much space you had, and how did you work through that?
Right. So we went through several iterations before we reached to what we have today from last about 4 or 5 years. So I will not go too much into the things that failed, but I can tell that the vermicompost failed for us. We tried best, but whatever worms that we used to get, the earthworms, etc. We had huge problem with ants coming and eating them. So we had to create a kind of a shield, like you have around the forts. You have that water body so that no one can come to the fort. Similarly, we had to create a water body around our composting system so that ants cannot come and eat our worms. But then we faced problem with the temperature. It's a lot of learning that is needed. These worms do not sustain extreme heat, and composting process generates heat up to 80 degree Celsius. So if someone is trying to do vermicompost, one has to be very, very careful. It's a very temperature controlled process, which probably a plant which is manned, and there are people 7-8 hours sitting there watering it, looking at the temperature, all that, probably they can do it. But the kind of community we are, it's not a plant. We want to do something which in the morning you spend an hour and you are done with it, and then no one is looking after it. So vermicompost failed for us. We didn't do that. Then we installed aerators to make sure we can aerate the whole thing while composting is happening. But the issues there were that when you want to aerate it, sometimes there are 3 hours, 4 hours, there's no power available. If you are living, say, edge of the city, our community was a village, inside the village. So power cuts, particularly in rainy season, other time, there are huge power cuts. And also you consume a lot of electricity. So if you are depending on the electricity, either you have to have a generator which is running 24 hours to do this aeration, etc. So we being a sensitive community, we didn't want a generator to be there, diesel run generator to be running for this purpose. So ultimately we discovered that too much of electricity, machine, and that is also not okay. So we discarded that. And finally, we came to what we have today, which I don't have a picture to show you. Probably we should have shared a slide. But it's a simple, it's a simple cylindrical chicken mesh structure where you take little bit of dry leaves, which is collected from the community, you layer dry leaves, and then you spread the wet waste on top of that, and then layer the dry leaves again, and then another layer of wet waste. That's how it is done. The only additional thing that we do is that in the morning, when our workforce goes from house to house to collect the wet waste, it takes the wet waste from one house and then sprinkles little bit of sawdust on it to absorb additional moisture that is there inside. What does that do is that if the moisture is reduced, when you spread it on top of the leaves, you do not have lumping. There is enough dryness and there enough opportunity for aeration to happen. It's very important that in composting, proper aeration happens, because this is aerobic composting that we do. So the microbes that act inside, they need sufficient air to thrive and survive. So this sawdust we sprinkle on top of the wet waste, and then we take another wet waste from the next house, then sprinkle again to absorb the extra moisture that we have. Those who do not get sawdust, they can initially they can bootstrap it, and then later on the compost itself can be used for absorbing the extra moisture. Not necessarily one needs not necessarily one needs the sawdust, because certain places sawdust may not be available. So the compost itself. So now whatever we have is a very simple process. Our workforce comes, takes it, and layers it within half an hour, and it is done for the day. There is nothing much to be done. We are about 280 household, and right now the area that we use for composting it about 500 square feet of this, about 200 square feet needed for initial 20 days, and another 200 square feet is needed for maturing that. We do not do the complete processing at one place. For initial composting, in every ring, the compost is kept for about 20 days, and then we take it out and put it for maturing, where it takes another 20 days for it to get composted. So about 40 days, we take about 40 days for it to compost. Not much involvement of workforce is there. We only turn it once in 20 days. So when we take it out from the ring and store it at the place for maturing, that is the only time we do the churning of it. There is no in between churning or anything done. So it's a very low on labor, very low on cost, and one has to have little space. It's a little slow because it takes about 40 to 45 days to happen. But if you have a space, then time doesn't matter. Time passes.
Yes, I do agree. I do agree on this part. So I quickly got a picture here.
I can see the picture.
Can you? So is it something like this that you have in your community? Is this?
Yeah. Yes. Something similar. Yes. Our structure were round and with chicken mesh, purely so that there is a lot of aeration that is happening from all the sides.
Okay.
Here, the only problem I can see is that these are sheets which may not have holes. So aeration would have a little bit of challenge.
Okay. So something like this, but not exactly this. So I'll stop
Yes.
sharing this.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I really like the idea how you as a community were hands-on to get the composting started, and you went through your own process of understanding what is working for you and what is not. So thanks for sharing that. I'm sure like maybe other communities will have their own learning curve. Somewhere vermicompost will work, somewhere aerated bins is a nice idea depending on the type of community and the resources. So I really
Exactly.
like the
Space also matters. There are
yes,
a lot of other solutions.
correct.
You might have seen in Bengaluru, there are a lot of responsible people who have um, home-based solutions. Every apartment complex also has this earthen khamba-based solutions, or you have a compost bin. Uh, so there are a lot of solutions available. Community-wise, also there are solutions. Individual solutions are there. The most important thing for us is to understand that if we do not segregate or manage it locally, then it has to be dumped somewhere in a mixed form, and it's going to create huge environmental problem, which will come back to us. It will hit the villagers or the place where it is being dumped, but at the same time, the city will definitely see all those contaminations coming back to us. We cannot separate air. It'll someday from there, it'll come to our side. So if there is air pollution happening there, it'll happen. We cannot separate totally the groundwater. At some level, it goes and mixes up. So our groundwater would get contaminated. A lot of Bengaluru depends upon the groundwater. All the peripheral area of Bengaluru does not have piped water. It takes water through bore wells. So our, and in fact, most of the studies have shown that 70% of the Bengaluru water is contaminated. We have these two big lakes that we all keep hearing about, Belandur Lake and Varthur Lake. And these lakes are so polluted that they too go and contaminate all the groundwater. So unless we take care of all the aspects of our living and we do not we do not deal with this responsibly, it will come back to us. We can't close our eyes that no, the garbage is gone from our house and everything is okay. No, that's not
Yeah.
true.
True. I agree. So, okay, sir. So we have one question here on YouTube comment section from Madhushri Baliga. She's asking, can we get a handout or a credible site of composting and also segregation techniques which KP Singh has adopted? So, do you blog or like or
No, no,
there
we have,
is a guide?
there are plenty of articles written on our way of doing it. It's available. If you if you say type KP Singh plus Rainbow Drive plus solid waste management, you will get articles. Similarly, on say wastewater treatment, you will get articles. These are there. But anyone, please share my email ID and please share my number with the people. They can
Sure.
contact me. I'll provide these documents that are already written on it.
Yes, so I would like to add here that KP Singh is quite reachable, and he's very proactive and very helpful and very resourceful. So please feel free to do a quick search, a Google search, and you will find him definitely. The keywords will be KP Singh, Rainbow Drive, in community waste management, wastewater treatment plant, and waste segregation. So you can play with the keywords there. So yes, so shall we move on to this very exciting part, which like really is like the model, the reason why like I consider your community as a model to look up to, the waste water treatment plant. Can you tell us more about it? Why did you think that that plant is required, and like what is that unique thing that you're doing that everybody should know?
Okay, how much time do I
So
have? So
we have more 10, 15 minutes roughly,
15
14
minutes.
minutes
Okay,
roughly. Yeah.
okay. I should be able to wrap it up. So this community where I live, it's about 22 years old now, and it was actually at the edge of the Bangalore city. So when I moved in 2003, um, I knew that I knew about the water that comes to Bangalore city is from 100 and odd kilometers, which is Kaveri water. I was aware about the dispute that happens for that water between Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, and Pondicherry and other states. So the water was a very scarce resource, and we knew that it'll take us very long to get municipal water, if at all we get it. And what we thought 20 years back or 18 years back, till today we do not have that water. So we were wise in anticipating that if we do not do our own water management, proper water management, we will have trouble. So when this community was formed, the builder had provided some water treatment plants because it was a standalone community, not connected with the municipal systems of this. So everything had to be managed in-house. But since the water treatment is a proper plant and it involves lots of technology into it, it's difficult for people who manage the community to understand what all is going on. So we had two plants. Those were doing treatment, but looking at the water quality, looking at the smell that comes, we knew that something is not okay there. So around, say, 2010, after, say, 10 years of existence of the community, we started looking at it seriously to see if we are doing good job or bad job with our treatment. Because if you don't treat that water, you can't reuse that water. It will be smelly, and the residents will not accept that kind of smelly water. And that is what was happening. No resident was ready to reuse that treated water, and all that water was being thrown outside. And ultimately, when you put that water outside in the stormwater drain, it ends up going into some lake and pollutes it. So we were feeling very bad from inside that we are not doing a good job. We are adding to the contamination of the lakes, and in turn, we are adding to the contamination of the groundwater. So that's when we started looking at some solutions which are easy to manage. The maintenance is easy. It doesn't break down every day. One does not need to be highly qualified in this to manage the plant. And then we started looking for something which is natural. And around that time, two technologies, in fact, one technology which was coming up was called, it was by Professor Shankar of IIT Mumbai. It was called soil biotechnology, SBT, which did not use this kind of the other technology was called active sludge process, ASP. So most of the apartment complexes, almost 99% of them use the same technology, ASP, because that's very popular technology and needs a little smaller space. But the plant runs 24 hours and you need 3 shifts. It needs to be manned all the 24 hours. So there has to be 3 shifts. Skilled manpower managing it. You need 24-hour electricity, and there is a noise and all that. We were finding it very hard to manage that ASP. Our plants were ASP. We found that the person who is, say, manning during the night would sleep, would do shortcuts, the water quality would not be there. So looking at all the problems that we were facing, we thought, can we have another technology, something which is less maintenance prone, it needs less supervision, and is more resilient and works without a lot of day-to-day maintenance. And that is when we got to know about the soil-based biotechnology. And we started we invited Professor Shankar to come to our community. He came, he demonstrated that technology. Um, those who attended, they were very convinced that it's very good technology. Uh, we were also in managing committee. We were all convinced that it is something that we should adopt. So we kind of got it passed through the managing committee as well as in annual general body meeting of the association. But the cost that was needed to execute the project was about 35,000 rupees per household. The total project cost was about 1.2 crores. And when we started raising the fund to execute this project, we found that only out of about 300 households, only 40 people paid around that. And since people were not ready to pay, it did not take off. So for about a couple of years, that project was then shelved. And then I got to know about another technology, which is called phytorid. And that was in around 2012 or 2013 timeframe, after 2 years of gap. And I started looking at it, and I found that technology to be even better and cheaper, almost 50% cheaper compared to the other one. So here, with 20,000 rupees per household, we were able to raise enough money. Total project for us costed about 65 lakh instead of 1.2 crores. And that's what we have done it. We executed that in 2014. And it's now 6 years. It's working very well. It gives us close to 1 lakh liter water every day. Community is lush green because we have all, whether it is raining or not, our plants are getting water almost 365 days. Look at 1 lakh liter, put the price on that water. If you, here in Bangalore, if you need to buy 1,000 liter, which is 1 kiloliter water, today it costs you anywhere between 600 rupees to 1,000 rupees. So if it is 1 lakh liter, you are probably saving 10,000 rupees per day. That's a huge money. So it has given us a daily availability of very good quality water. We have lush green surroundings because our trees and plants grow. People are growing fruits and vegetables. Plenty of fruits and vegetables are available in-house. Almost 40 to 50% Rainbow Drive people have turned into farmers. Everyone knows how to grow. It's fantastic, and we share. Particularly, I'm a full-time farmer, so I grow 365 days. In this COVID lockdown, I have rarely got vegetables from outside. It's all my homegrown vegetables. So both homegrown compost and our own treated water. It's amazing to have your own. You walk into your garden whenever you need vegetable, you get your dhania from there, you get your chili from there, you get your bhindi from there. It's amazing feeling if you are able to do that. So
yes, I totally agree with you, and the joy that you, and I can just listen to the model and the fruits of it and the benefits of it all day long. But I'm so sorry, uh, we are pressed on time. So we have 4 minutes left, and
so I just want to add to this that this technology, which is a soil biotechnology, it has three distinct advantages. One, that it does not need power. Can be this technology can be so wastewater treatment. Otherwise, in all other technologies, it needs power. So if either one has to have a generator running 24 hours or one has electricity. So since electricity is never available 24 hours, most of the other technologies need electricity as well as a backup generator. This technology does not need electricity or does not need this. So it can be used at places. It can be designed to operate totally without electricity. So that's one distinct advantage. Second thing is it doesn't need maintenance. It doesn't need 24-hour people sitting there and running the plant. So now we have someone who comes and starts the plant in the morning at 7 o'clock and he goes back by 7 o'clock. So we run it 12 hours, and rest of the 12 hours during night, there's no person monitoring it. So that way, life of the people who are working on the plant is better. Otherwise, anyone who you ask to stay awake during night, and sometimes you have a lot of, because of the green tea, you have lots of mosquitoes. It's quite inhuman to ask someone to sit there and operate the plant. So doesn't need electricity, very low on maintenance, and very sturdy and stable. So so this technology, one should always take a look at this technology, where this needs a little bit more space. So it cannot be probably fitted in small apartment complexes where space is not there. But if in advance there is a space carved out, because the bed looks like a garden, so this can double up as a open green space, and beneath that would be the plant, and no one actually gets to know that there is a sewage treatment plant running. So interesting technology, which one should take a look at it.
Yes, very interesting. And thank you for sharing that. And Fridays for Future is really, really honored to have you, talk to us and bring us this like good news that we can definitely look up to communities who are doing such great work and are inspiring all of us. So thank you for sharing all that you have learned through your experiences. It is our honor, and we apologize because I know that we can keep on talking about more, and you have done more, and we would like to know more, but we are pressed on time. So just wanted to show my deep gratitude for what you're doing and for sharing it with all of us. If you have any last message, closing thoughts, we can, or otherwise we can close the meeting. Yeah.
Yes, the only message is that wherever we are, in whatever communities we are, let's step out, volunteer, and do the right things, whether it is solid waste management or proper water management. All these are resources that need to be managed. We do not have, and we are, particularly India, we have huge pollution problems. So when we do these things, we address all kinds of pollutions, whether be it water pollution or air pollution, or we control the diseases as well. So step out and volunteer, encourage people to participate. Once people go out and participate, actually the community living becomes better. Volunteering changes something inside all of us. We tend to become better human beings too if we step out and do these things. So I on this Environment Day,
Absolutely.
I encourage everyone, and particularly those who have kids. It is said that the literacy happens inside the classroom. The education happens outside the classroom. So take them outside the classroom. Take them for volunteering. Take them around the weekends to do some community work, and they would turn out to be much better human beings. Thank you so much for all those who have joined us. And
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Have a nice day, everyone.
bye.